Phone's off? Yes, mine's off.
Good evening and welcome to the September 28th, 2020 Goffstown Select Board meeting. If you'll notice, we're meeting in person tonight, although we're practicing social distancing and following CDC guidelines to conduct this meeting. I personally am glad to finally be able to meet in person. I think it's a lot more efficient and a lot more effective way to meet. It was a challenge for sure with those remote meetings, but we got through it and we got this far, and hopefully these person-to-person meetings will work out from this point forward. But I'd like to start the meeting as we usually do with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have a 6:15 appointment with Senator D'Alessandro. We have a public hearing at 7, and we do have a non-public session at the end of our public session this evening. First order of business, let me read the announcement. This is the Safer at Home meeting announcement. Effective June 16th, 2020, Governor Sununu issued Emergency Order Number 52, which ended the State of New Hampshire stay-at-home order and changed it to a Safer at Home advisory. As chairman of the Goffstown Select Board, in accordance with the Safer at Home advisory, the governor's state of emergency and related emergency orders, when conducting this meeting of the Goffstown Select Board in person, practicing appropriate social distancing consistent with state and national public health guidelines. The Goffstown Select Board continues to provide public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibility by video or other electronic means. For those members of the public that are staying in their homes or places of residence this evening, public participation continues to be available by telephone. The public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting by dialing the following telephone number: area code 603-766-5646, and using the participate code 78645, followed by the pound sign. If anyone has a problem with the telephone access, please call 603-384-3624 for assistance. For the benefit of those members of the public that may be listening to the meeting by telephone, all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. So we'll start the meeting by taking a roll call of attendance. And Collis Adams, I'm present.
Kelly Boyer.
Peter Georgiantis?
Mark Lemay.
Chet Bowen.
Thank you. Next item of business is the acceptance and correction of minutes from the 9/14/2020. There's both public and non-public minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes of 9/14/2020, public and non-public.
Second.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Chet. A motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. I vote yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Just go around this way.
Yes.
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 Thank you. Motion passes 5-0-0. Announcements. Does anybody have any announcements they want to share with the public and the board at this time? Anything? No? All right, thank you. It's a little early for public comment. Why don't we get started, Derek? with a
On the
few-
town administrator's
Yeah,
report?
sure.
Okay, great. If you go to tab 7A, you'll see your committee meeting schedule for the next 2 weeks. The school board and budget committee will be meeting together remotely on Monday, October 5th at 7 p.m. And then they're also meeting on Wednesday at 6 p.m. So that's an error that's there, but I believe Selectman Lemay, you were out of town, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we'd need somebody to cover those as the select board's rep.
I'm covering the planning board meeting that night, so I can't do it.
It's Wednesday, not Thursday,
Oh,
so it'd be
okay.
Monday and Wednesday.
Okay, I can do it.
You can do both of those? Okay, we will make sure the meeting information gets sent to you. On Wednesday at 6:30 PM, the EDC is meeting remote. And
Yep.
then Thursday at 7 PM. Oh, it's actually 6 PM.
It's 6 PM, yeah.
6 PM, okay. And then Thursday, 7 PM would be planning board. So yes, that budget committee meeting will be on Wednesday, but we'll send you the remote meeting information.
That's fine.
In your consent agenda, you have employee status reports, you have a paramedic resignation, a fire call lieutenant retirement, a call firefighter 1A EMT merit increase, a firefighter 1 paramedic merit increase, new hire of a dispatcher, a dispatcher's successful completion of 1-year probationary period. You have 2 lieutenants with successful completion of probationary period. You have laborer, solid waste attendant, new hire, laborer, new hire. You have the warrant for the 2020 general election. This needs a signature of the entire board. Rights to inter at West Lawn Expansion Cemetery, Section 2, Lot 80. You have the Village River Pedestrian Bridge Ad Hoc Committee appointments. This was voted on at your last meeting. Alan Gammons, Andrew Catarat, Jonathan Allard, and Paula Bedard, all as full members, and then Eric Slassen as an alternate, all with terms expiring July 27th, 2021.
And Derek, I'll be serving as the select board.
Yes, yes. All the ex officio members do not need appointment, but yes, thank you. You have a license agreement for Eversource. This is for the land behind the Parks and Rec building. As you may recall, the granite steps that was decided upon. There was a slight wording change that was required by Primex to satisfy them. And then in your office this evening, we did add 2 special event permits. They're in the Select Board's office. You have a special event for Maple Ave Elementary School. It's their Halloween parade. They're splitting it onto 2 separate days on October 28th and October 29th from 1:20 to 2 p.m. both days. The parade will leave Maple Ave, turn right onto Maple Ave, go up to Smith Road. So they're just using a little bit different route. And then the other special event permit is for Bartlett Elementary School. They're also going to do a Halloween parade on October 28th and October 29th from 1 to 1:30, and that will be up on Higgins Street, Sharon Street, and Louis Street.
I have a question on that.
Sure, Peter.
When I looked at those, the police chief hasn't reviewed those yet. And I was concerned that we're doing it at the same time. Have you reviewed those, chief?
I haven't.
So I suggest we have pending approval of the chief before we say yes, because it looked like there could be a problem with coverage as far as running the people and having more than one parade at the same time.
I have looked at them, and I'm pretty sure I signed them back to Catherine. Maybe I got them a little bit late. But I talked to both the principals. We have coverage that will help that. That's why, talking to Maple Ave, we had them go up Maple Ave and not across Elm Street and through downtown to kind of keep everybody isolated so we could have a couple people to help out with that. Between the 5 command staff that are working during the day and our SROs, I think we'll have some coverage to do that. They both assured me that those children will be as far apart as they can, no parents that are going to be in the parade. They're going to be doing a very small, no parade, no fire department involved. It's just basically we're blocking traffic at the front and the back, and that's it. So I'm sorry that I don't know how that got lost in translation, but I'm pretty sure I signed off on those and sent them up to Catherine. So I apologize that they were late.
I'm good. I mean, as far as he's okay with it, I'm okay with it. I
Okay.
just wanted to make sure that he, I looked at one section, it had the police chief's signature and it wasn't on there, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion by Kelly, second by, was it Mark?
Yep.
Thank you. To approve the consent agenda. Any discussion on the motion? None, I'll call the roll. I vote yes. Kelly?
Yes?
Yes.
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 The motion passes 5-0-0. Derek, just one observation on the Village River Pedestrian Bridge Ad Hoc Committee. We need to call the first meeting,
Yes.
at which time we'll elect a chairman.
Okay.
Can you set the meeting?
Yes.
And get
we'll-
out the notice for
Yep,
me,
we'll set a
please?
meeting and get that news out to everybody and find a convenient time for everybody to
Great.
meet.
Thank you very much.
And I think I can probably get one more in. You have the town assessor recommendations. The town assessor recommends a report of timber cut and timber tax warrant for map 5, lot 74.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the assessor's recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mark, seconded by Kelly to approve it as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I vote yes. Kelly?
Yes.
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 Motion passes 5-0-0. Yeah, it's 6:10, so it's now time for a first public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to make a public comment at this time? Now would be your opportunity. Derek, as I'm looking out over the audience, would it be possible for future meetings to sort of block off every other chair? Maybe it's
Yes.
as simple as just turning everyone around backwards so that
Yep.
we can socially distance folks in the audience?
Absolutely, we can make that adjustment for next time.
Thank you.
I would like to, Mr. Chair, open it up to anybody that's on the line. We do have some
Yep,
callers.
thank you.
So callers, if you would like to make public comment at this time, please press *9 on your telephone.
Is there anyone out there who'd like to participate via telephone?
Thank you, caller. If you could identify yourself and your address, and then you can make your public comment.
Hi, this is Barbara Griffin from Merrill Road. I just wanted to make sure Daryl was really operating at *9. And I called in to listen to the meeting, and I might have something to say later on in regards to legislative update. So thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Anyone else? Do you see Derek?
No.
Okay, last call. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along. Senator D'Alessandro, it's a little bit early, but I see you sitting there. Did you want to approach now?
Good to go.
Okay, come on forward and welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Glad to see the chief here, and also with me is Diane McCarthy, who's an advisor. Always good to have advice. First of all, thanks for taking the time to meet with me. If if it's permissible, I'll remove my mask. I make it a habit to visit the selectmen and to let them know what's going on with regard to state government. My office shut down on the 13th of March. I've been in my office twice, really, since the 13th of March, both for session days. One was to end the session, and the second was for veto overrides. Governor vetoed 70-plus bills. No bill was overwritten. So the fact is that all of those legislative changes that were suggested were denied, and almost 500 bills were vacated. Now, those vacated bills may appear in the next legislative session. That's always the danger when you vacate a bill, that it will come back. But what I'd like to do is report to you on a few things. Fiscal 2020, how fiscal 2020 ended, what the outlook is for 2021, what's happened with the CARES Act funding. We had $1.25 billion to distribute. The governor had sole authority to distribute that. I served on a committee that he created, the Gopher Committee, 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats, and we gave advice as to how that money should be spent. The FEMA report that came to you people, and specifically came to the superintendent of schools, saying that the FEMA would not pay, as they had been, they had notified people that they would pay, but somehow that went down the tubes, and as a result, there won't be FEMA money that was anticipated. That creates a problem. I've spoken with the business office at the school, and we've discussed what that problem would be and how that problem would be taken care of. And Scott Gross and I had an extensive conversation about that. It creates a problem, but it's a problem that will be taken care of. I'd like to talk to you about masks and spacing, about the school reopening, the legislative update, and answer any questions that you might have. So the first order of business is, where are we as a result of this COVID pandemic that came upon us in March of 2020 and is still in existence today? We were going along at a great clip until March 13th, when the world shut down. As a result of that, our general fund and education fund at the end of the fiscal year produced a $142.5 million deficit. We will carry over a deficit from 2020 to 2021. The lapses were greater than had been anticipated. As a result, that 142.5 will be decreased by an amount that I don't know of at this time, but it will be decreased. The lapses exceeded what was anticipated by at least $20 million. The highway fund was $12.6 million in deficit. Fish and Game, $3.1 million above, and the Turnpike, $13.3 million down. So when you look at the totals, we carried over $165.4 million deficit. As I said, that will be reduced to some extent because the lapses were greater than anticipated. Looking at fiscal year 2021, the projection is a $241 million deficit from the education and general fund. The highway fund, a $14.9 million deficit. Fish and Game, a $400,000 plus, and the Turnpike, a $16.3 million deficit. So we could be looking at a deficit of $272 million, give or take. Now, all of this is contingent upon lapses, and what if the economy rebounds and how it rebounds. All of these are unknowns, but if you're doing projections, that's where we stand as of the end of fiscal year 2020, which ended on the 30th of June, and the projections for fiscal year 2021, which began on the 1st of July. Now, intervening, the federal government gave us $1.25 billion to give out or to distribute based on COVID-related situations. COVID-related situations. About $300 million of that has gone to hospitals. They had to gear up for the COVID. They had to eliminate elective surgeries, and they went in the tank for a lot of money. And $300 million does not cover their negative. That's still problematic. We have nursing homes, we had businesses, and a variety of others that applied for these funds. At the present time, I believe almost $1 billion has been given out. That's been given, but it hasn't been spent. I think based on the last returns I had, there's about $600 million left to spend. And there is plenty of need, as all of you know, for that. We had a number of businesses in Goffstown that applied for the funds. I know 2 businesses were taken care of, but there were 6 small businesses, and I worked on those 6 small businesses to try to get something for them. I don't know how that's turned out at the present time. When you look at how the money has been spent, it's pretty difficult to follow. There's a 1,000-line report that is online at the Gopher site, and you have to go through that. The thing you can't ascertain is money that's been given and money that's been spent. That's problematic at this point in time. But the Gopher Committee is meeting at 1 o'clock tomorrow, and we'll continue to talk about requests and how that money would be spent. So those CARES Act funds have to be spent by the 30th of December. They've got to be spent by the 30th of December. And there has to be accurate record keeping as to how that money has been spent. And as I said, it has to be COVID-related activities. COVID-related activities, monies that that would not have been spent if we didn't have the COVID crisis. Masks and screening. I asked the governor to make masks mandatory. I lost that vote. I also asked him to produce masks, to put aside $500 million for masks so that masks could be distributed throughout the state. I lost that vote. There are two things that make the best remedy to prevent COVID from spreading: the wearing of the mask and spacing. Both are significant. And anyone involved in the medical end of it or in the research connecting with it says those two things can be done and do prevent the spread of the virus: the masks and the spacing. We've done a good job across our state. Geographically, we're very lucky. We got a lot of open space. We only have 2 or 3 really, what I would say, really difficult urban centers. One is Manchester. That's a significant urban center. We have a lot of density in Manchester. We have a lot of density in Nashua. Generally speaking, our density is not profound. It's limited. In the northern counties, we've had very little activity with the virus. And I think the geography and the fact that people are spread apart has a great deal to do with it. I did talk with the superintendent about the opening of school and how the opening of school would occur. I've got very good reports from the superintendent as to how it's going. That's a real plus. Now, the question is, what's the next step? Are you going to go all virtual? Are you going to bring people back? And how is that going to be done? And what are the costs associated with that? I'm going to ask tomorrow at the Gopher meeting that those costs be taken care of. People thought FEMA was going to take care of them. It isn't going to, but there have been accelerated costs. You got to clean the buildings. The chrome vehicles have to be taken care of, the chrome pamphlets. And there are so many unanticipated costs associated with opening the schools. And we've got to do something about it, and going to bring that up for discussion tomorrow at the Gopher meeting. The legislative update, I don't know if the legislature will meet again. Certainly won't meet again this year, but what's going to happen to us as a result of the November elections? Obviously, we'll have people elected and not elected, but where are we going to meet? The State House is closed down. The State House basically is locked down. The Legislative Office Building is locked down, and we're doing repair of the front steps at the Legislative Office Building, which was crumbling. Those steps were crumbling and were going to fall apart. And the tunnel that goes between the State House and the Legislative Office Building was deteriorating. We've had people slip and fall and have accidents in the tunnel. So we appropriated $1.9 million to take care of the steps and to fix the tunnel. As you know, that there is a stream that runs right through the center of the State House and right out up Spring Street, to be honest with you. That's been there for a long time, and we've had water problems in that tunnel since we built the tunnel when we connected the Legislative Office Building to the State House. So we're trying to address that and take care of it. Legislation will begin to be filed as soon as the filing period opens. That'll be after the new legislature is elected. I'm hoping that legislation will be at a minimum. We had too many pieces of legislation last year. We had 1,000 pieces in the second year and almost 1,000 in the first year. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. It just isn't good, and I hope we can control that. Everybody's up for re-election in the Senate. We have 3 senators who are not seeking re-election. They will be replaced. Everyone else is running for reelection. The House has, I think, a full slate of candidates on the Democratic and the Republican side. I've got a full summary from the Governor's Office of Revenues, and I'll leave those with you for you to look at. I think everybody should pay attention to what the forecast versus reality. I look at the revenues every day. As of today, for the month of September, we're 16.6 million ahead of plan. Now, it's not a big month in terms of revenue, but some revenues have exceeded expectations, particularly the lottery, because we introduced sports gambling, and sports gambling has been very successful up to this point. So right now, we're 16.6 ahead. Again, the projections are that we'll be negative in the big months, so we'll see. In general, I think we've really been in pretty good shape. I mean, the citizens have responded very favorably to shutting down. They've accepted it, wearing of the mask, and spacing. That's a very, very important situation, and as a result, we've saved a lot of lives. But we've lost over 200,000 lives in our country to the virus. 200,000 people. Now, how many of them didn't have to die if they had paid attention, if they worn the masks and spaced properly? I don't know, but they're projecting 300,000 people will die, and that's a terrible outlook. But we in the state, I think, have done, as I said, have done well. People have paid attention. They've done what they should be doing in terms of prevention. Hospitals are now opening up. They're taking elective surgery, so things are getting a little bit better. The hemorrhaging is stopping to some extent, and we'll see it at the end of their fiscal years, and many have different fiscal years, how things will turn out in terms of their ability to sustain. And I'm sure that we'll get some positive results out of that. We seem to be, as I said, okay at this point in time. What does okay mean? It's better than it could be, but not as good as it was. You know, we had a banner year in 2019. We far exceeded our revenue expectations based on the budget, and I chair the Finance Committee in the budget. We were able to deliver $20 million each year in aid to the municipalities, which had no strings attached. You got the first monies, and I'm sure did with them what was appropriate. Let's hope that we can maintain that in the second year. That's open. It's an open question at this point in time. We did a lot for education, and that money, much of that money has been spent. We did restore the 4% reduction, and let's see how all of that works out as we move along, as we look at the revenue stream. But you know, that's pretty much a summation of where we are at this point, Mr. Chairman, and we hope for the best. I mean, we've got to hope for the best. We have to live in hope. We can't be pessimistic. We've got to be optimistic about what's going to happen. What's my fear? My fear is the mental health of our students. That's a significant problem, and the mental health of our community. We did appropriate a significant amount of money to New Hampshire Hospital. Money to get the children out of New Hampshire Hospital and get to where they belong, and that's been done. They're at Hampstead now. Money to create transitional housing, to get people out of the hospital who shouldn't be in the hospital. That's pretty much done at this point in time, and we have, Philbrook has been redone, the Philbrook building has been redone, and 16 people are now living at the Philbrook building. The space that was occupied by the children, we created, will be creating 48 more beds at New Hampshire Hospital to handle the people that are on a waiting list at this point in time. Last time I checked, there were 33 people on the wait list to get into New Hampshire Hospital. We can't have that. You know, we've had a court order that says you can't keep people. They've got to be brought to the proper facility. So we did appropriate money, and that money is being it's being spent at this point in time. The children are gone. The work is being done to create more beds. The transitional housing is in place. So we've done a lot of very significant things. And as I say, we have to live in hope. We have to sustain these things, and hopefully our revenue stream won't drop off so significantly that we'll have to make dramatic cuts in the budget. That's always a fear, how we will rebound. Now, that fear has been mitigated to some extent by the 1.25 billion that's been poured into this economy. But that disappears. That all ends. And we'll see how all of that turns out. There is a plan in Congress right now to take another 2.2 trillion and move it back to the economy. I don't know where that's going at this point in time. Unemployment picked up last month. We had more people applying than we had in the previous month, and we've done a pretty good job of restoring jobs. But that $600 bonus has disappeared. The $300 bonus has pretty much disappeared. So those things are all in place. Housing, the moratorium on evictions is still in place. We did appropriate money to legal services to try to aid people who are losing their homes and being evicted because of non-payment of rent. So we're working on that, but that's going to become a problem as unemployment remains high. That's a significant concern that people have. But as I said, on the upside, we are alive and well. We do have hope. We have gritty people. We hunker down and do the things that we have to do. And we're very fortunate in the towns and in the city. We have great people working for us. We have wonderful public servants, and we have police. We have fire. We have, we're all pulling together, and indeed that's what makes the difference. And I think that's what makes New Hampshire a very special place. But we've got to continue to do that. And with that, Mr. Chairman, is my report. I'll address any queries that you might have.
Thank you for that briefing, Senator. That's most helpful. Just real quickly on
Sure.
the legislature and legislation.
Yes.
With the State House and the LOB shut down, are all the bills that have been introduced and assigned to committee and all the LSRs have been drafted, they're just dead in their tracks right now and nothing's going to happen?
Well, they're doing remote hearings,
They are.
but bills for the next session, they're being drafted. Everything's virtual, but they're there.
So we still got to continue to
They
track
have
it.
to continue. Right, they continue on. Everything continues on.
Yeah, okay.
Paul, so I have a
Thank you.
question.
Yeah, Peter.
On this committee you're on with the Gopher Committee with
Yes.
the governor, do you discuss other things than money, like expanding? As we know that the weather's going to get bad here, and these restaurants are going to lose their outside seating, and in some cases that could put them out of business.
Sure.
Is there discussion in your committee or do you guys discuss that and what we can do to loosen up on that?
Right. We don't discuss it, but he has a committee that discusses that.
Okay.
That other committee has been set aside, and it's like the reopening committee. So it discusses when you should reopen, how you should reopen, and if they could remain outside or not. And that committee's quite a large group of people, and they're working on it. They're working on a daily basis to make those decisions. It's very important. If you curtail outside seating, many of the restaurants will disappear, and I think 20% of them are going to disappear anyway. To be honest with you, to be frank,
That's a sad thing.
it is a sad thing because they were working on very thin margins, and in order to sustain, they had to keep going. And once you had a break, it was critical. And we have some, look at this, we have six, as I said, six small entrepreneurs here in the town that may be in trouble. I think the two restaurants are gonna be okay. The Trestle and Sawyer's, they're gonna be okay. But look at, we had the pharmacy shut down. And a wonderful guy, great person in terms of the community, great relationships in terms of the community. But because of the competitive situation and other entities, we lose a pharmacy in town. And that's the strength of our municipalities. The fact that we do things locally, we perform locally, and we sustain locally. We can't lose that. I mean, that's the culture that makes the democracy work. It's everybody pulling together, and we tragically we're losing that.
Yes, no question the pandemic has affected almost every sector of our economy, and it's a very difficult situation to deal with.
Yeah.
But fortunately, our communities are pulling together and finding ways to get things done and make it happen, and that's a real testament to our strength and our backbone.
It is.
Any other questions for the senator from members of the board? Well, we really appreciate you coming in and visiting with us this evening, Senator. As always, it's good to see you, and you're
Thank you.
welcome at any time in Goffstown Town Hall.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Kelly, you're leaving us.
I will be, yeah.
You're gonna go defend us in another sector.
I will, yeah, I will. I'll be back, though.
All
Don't
right,
you worry.
great. Well, great job, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
You are.
Okay, back to the agenda. I think we left off with the tax collector's
Yep.
deeds, is that right?
Yep.
Yes.
Oops. Item 7D in the packets.
Doing the tax deeding.
Tax deeds, tax collectors.
Okay, thank you. At 7D, yes. You have, this is for tax liens from the year 2017. The tax collector has recommended tax deeding of, we're at a decision point whether to execute a tax deed or waive tax deed. The first is for map 12, lot 9-1. This is a lot off of Montalona Road. And map 4, lot 87-5-19, which is 30 Evergreen Drive. These are both up for tax deeding. They have not been current with their 2017 tax liens, and they have not come in to make contact for tax payment arrangements. The lot off of Montalona is a relatively new lot that came about as part of a lot line adjustment, and we are not certain of the ownership of it, as you would have seen in the select board's room. So the recommendation is to take that lot, and then 30 Evergreen Drive. Most recently, the police department did hand deliver the notice. We had been sending those out certified. Stephanie has tried multiple times to contact the property owner, and police was kind enough to hand deliver the information a few weeks ago, or a couple weeks ago, try and get them in to get a tax payment arrangement. So it'd be a decision on whether or not to execute a tax deed on that. And then you also have a payment arrangement for 142 Danis Park Road.
Thank you, Derek, for that briefing. Any questions from any members of the board for the three tax deed recommendations?
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the tax collector's recommendation as presented and sign any waivers and forbearance agreements.
Peter,
Second.
motion by Peter,
Second.
second by Mark. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the roll. I vote yes. Kelly?
Yes?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0-0.
So just so we're clear, for map 12, lot 9-1, and map 4, lot 87-5-19, that would be to execute the tax deed, and then a payment arrangement on map 25, lot 47.
That was my motion.
Perfect, thank you.
And then tab 7E. And E is the MS 434,
Yes.
estimated revenues.
So in your packet this evening, you have the revised estimated revenues for 2020. As you will see, overall, the revenues were down a bit. The big exception is the board did take the decision to bring the CARES Act funds for the Gopher Municipal Relief Fund and the DOJ CARES Act into the general fund. So our anticipated revenues will be $415,620 more than was budgeted. So that will go forward to tax rate setting.
Question.
Yes, Peter?
Any expenditures connected to the CARES Act fund and the DOJ CARES Act?
Yes, there are expenditures attached to those. That is for some of the PPE, as well as for first responder payroll, and a handful of other items. But those are still contained within the general fund expenditures.
So the general fund expenditures didn't increase by enough to offset a lot of this money.
I think what we're going to do is, we have not changed the appropriation, the total appropriation. What departments are doing is they are operating within their appropriation. We're going to see some savings in some of the lines that, because of operational changes, we're not spending. We'll also see some savings in insurance. I think what we're going to do is we're going to be closer to our appropriation. Our expenditures will be closer than they traditionally are, and less money will be going towards fund balance at the end of the year. But we are going to stay within our appropriation.
So it's your contention to use the 415, 620 to, at tax setting time?
So yes, so that will increase the revenues, and we did a little calculation. The town voters were advised that if they passed all appropriation articles, the tax rate would go to $8.59. Earlier this year, you had your MS1. We budgeted based on 0.5% increase. I think it was 1.3%. And with this extra revenue, we are now calculating our tax rate will be around $8.35 versus the $8.59. The other thing the board will have a decision to make is that $8.59 also included $125,000 of fund balance used at tax rate setting. So if you want to still use that $125,000, that would drop it to $8.28. So, again, when
What's the current one?
$8.14. It's been that rate for the last 2 years.
So you're going up, if we did what we just talked about, we'd be going up 14 cents.
Yes, yes.
And that decision needs to be made when?
It'll most likely be made at your next meeting. We have basically everything that we need to. The auditor's finishing up the 2019 audit, and we'll be putting their report into DRA. I know the school is finalizing their numbers, so that process generally starts the first and second week of October. So we anticipate bringing that back to you at your next meeting.
So the bottom line is 14-cent increase.
That's what it's looking like right now. We've been told there will not be significant changes to meals and rooms and highway block, but we don't get those final numbers till we actually sitting down there, so.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Derek on the numbers he's just laid out for us? Okay, we don't need any action on this, it's just,
No, that's just for your information.
thank you.
Could do action on it next meeting, though. It's nice to have it ahead of time
Yeah, it
to
is.
mull it over.
Yeah, thank you for that. Let's see, next is item 7F. It's some drainage easements.
Yeah, these last two items in the town administrator report are pretty quick. We have an approval tracking form from the planning department. This is 2 drainage easements at 2 Morrow Street and 4 Morrow Street, which are map 17, lot 57 and 58. These are 2 drainage easements that are related to a lot line adjustment that was recently approved by the planning board.
Need a motion on that?
Yes, please.
Yes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the drainage easement on the, you want to do both of them or just one?
You could do both
Yeah,
of
go
them at
ahead
the same
and do
Okay,
time.
we do both drainage easements, lot 17, lot 57 and 58.
Second.
Okay, motion by Peter and a second by Chet. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call a roll. Yes, Kelly?
Yes.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
And the last item I had is from Department of Public Works. This is acceptance of private drain licenses. These are revocable. This is for 24 Warren Ave, map 17, lot 11, 32 Warren Ave, map 16, lot 209, and 49 Wallace. That shouldn't say Wallace, that's Warren Ave. Map 14, lot 34. These are all existing private drains that are being connected to the town's stormwater. And it is a revocable license that if anything violated our stormwater permit, the town would be able to revoke the license and disconnect.
Pretty straightforward. We've seen a lot of these in the past. Any questions? Entertain a motion then?
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I want to make sure that this gets corrected for the minutes, that's Warren, not Wallace.
49 Warren.
Yes, it should be 49 Warren, and I will confirm that, yeah.
I'll make a motion to accept the private draining licenses for 29 Warren Ave, map 17, lot 11, 32 Warren Ave, map 16, lot 209, and 49 Warren Ave, map 14, lot 34.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mark, seconded by Peter. Any discussion on the motion?
I think it's 24 Warren Ave, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to add that.
Okay, any discussion on the motion? I'll call the roll, a vote yes.
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 Thank you. The motion passes 5-0. Let's see, what do we have coming up? We have a 7 o'clock public race.
I
Okay,
think
so
we
got time.
we just need to go back, for we had the fire chief at number 6.
I'm sorry. Sorry, chief. Yeah, tab 6.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Chief.
Nice to see everyone in person.
Most of us anyway, just except for this
Yes,
part.
most
we
of
can't
us.
see.
The first item this evening, and I see you have copies of our local emergency operation plan. So this plan's updated every 5 years. I just want to give you a quick overview of that. So that plan actually helps us, the town, establish a framework for our local government to provide assistance in an expeditious manner to save lives, protect property in the event of a disaster, and also items such as COVID-19 pandemic. We certainly utilize our current plan throughout the entire pandemic. So the primary purpose of the EOP is to initiate, coordinate, and sustain an effective local response to disasters and emergencies. Secondarily, it gives each department kind of a guideline of what they should be doing during an event. So in the booklet, it'll show what the fire chief is supposed to do during a pandemic. It'll give an action plan for us. So this is updated every 5 years. The group that helped put this together was the entire staff here at Town Hall, from the town administrator down, police department, fire department, DPW, our health officer, Red Cross, and a bunch of other people. So it was definitely a collaborative effort to put that together. Certainly really proud of the product that our mapping and planning solutions put together for us. So I know that'll take a lot for you guys to digest. It's over 200 pages, and I'll certainly entertain any questions should you have those during the review.
I just note, Chief, it is an exhaustive plan. It goes into great detail. A lot of work went into this. Good job getting it to this point. Thank you and the others for their efforts.
Thank you very much for that. And in the upcoming months, we'll also have our updated hazard mitigation plan that we're working on now. So that is another extensive document that you'll see in the near future.
Does this need to be accepted, or is it just automatic?
I'd like, if, Fire Chief and I talked about this, that he'd give you an overview of the process that went through it. It is an exhaustive document, but what we'll be doing is at your next meeting, we will be putting the formal acceptance motions. There are some forms that need to be filled out, some specific motions that need to be made, because again, this was tied to a FEMA grant. So we do have some specific motions that you will have at your next meeting, and we'll ask that all board members read it and sign that they read and understand their role in emergency responses as well. So this would be a chance to ask the Fire chief, any questions, or if you had any, I don't know if you had any highlights, or not really?
Not really, I just wanted to give kind of a brief overview of the entire document, what it was, and what we use it for.
Thanks, Chief. Any questions from board members?
No, I'm sure if we have any questions, we can give you a holler.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it takes a
Please.
while to digest it all.
Yeah.
It definitely does. The second item I had this evening was a request, was a CIP request. I'm actually gonna, if it's okay with the select board, push this to a different meeting, because the vehicle I was gonna request this evening has been sold. So I can't request it. If we're lucky enough to find another one, which has been a very difficult process to go through, I'll come back.
So we'll move it off to the next meeting.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is it?
Well, that brings us down to department updates, I believe. Chief, you want to, oh, you went back already. Okay.
And we also have DPW directors on the line as well to.
Okay, great.
So,
So why don't we do department head updates? Chief, why don't you begin? You typically do. Emergency management and fire department.
So on the emergency management side, as always, we continue to monitor our local information with regards to COVID-19. I'm happy to report again, Goffstown remains in that 1 to 4 active case range, so community's doing a great job with preventing the spread. Statewide, we do have over 8,000 cases and 400 people have passed. With the fire department side, we're definitely well into the 2021 budget presentation, preparation, so that the entire team has been working on for the last month. One apparatus that we did have out of service was our engine 4. We do an annual pump test for the pumps on the apparatus, and that one failed the pump test due to overheating issue. So it's actually at DPW. They believe it's just the thermostat, but they're looking at that now. All of our members in the department remain healthy throughout the pandemic. And finally, one thing we do want to remind the community is please make sure they're checking daily with regards to burning during this drought condition that we currently have. We want to make sure that we are not burning. There was an announcement sent out by the Governor's Council last week, a proclamation that we posted on, I believe it's on the town website, and as well as our Facebook page. So please make sure we're all adhering to that. Hopefully we'll get some rain this week, and that'll bring those fire dangers down. So, that's all I had.
Any questions, sir? Chief Howard? Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Chief?
Chief Serino? Good evening.
All right, so, from the PD side, I bring good news. On paper, we're full staffed, as long as these two backgrounds go pretty well. We acted pretty fast in the last couple of weeks after we lost another officer at 5 years to replace him. So we have 2 officers that are currently, one's finishing up background, one's in background. Hopefully get them into the January Academy so we can get them back as soon as possible to get on the road. Everybody's been doing pretty well, healthy, staying positive out there, and just trying to make sure that we're, doing what we have to do to be healthy. We're coming in contact with a lot of people. Our calls and service have increased, so we're really just trying to make sure that we're staying healthy. Other than that, we're pretty status quo since last time we talked.
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate what you and your men do. You're often the men and women. You're often the first face that people see. A lot of people. So thank you for those
I have
efforts.
questions.
Yes, Peter.
What do we find out about the new cruisers and get them outfitted?
They are 2 of them. One of them, the supervisor's car, is down there currently. They had to give us a different quote because we are doing it as a supervisor, which is the low profile. So that came in a little bit under budget. The other 2 just went down there yesterday to get outfitted. Problem is we're at the mercy of our vendor. Sousa got everything lined up pretty quick for us, but we're at the mercy of the vendor, Global down in Nashua. They were just backed up as, they were shut down for a while and everybody got their cruisers in. So all 3 of them are now down there, and hopefully within the next couple of months, we'll get them ready to go.
What's
Did
that,
we
Peter?
pass it on the other ones? Have they
it's-
already been targeted to where they're gonna go?
Absolutely. As soon as we get those new ones in, we're getting rid of them. We've experienced a couple of problems this year that we weren't experiencing, we weren't expecting, but we had one transmission in one of our cruisers fall out, so we had to get that replaced. And, unfortunately, that was one that was slotted to go anyways, but because we knew we were gonna have to wait so long to get these new cruisers online, so we put some money into that. So DPW, you're gonna get a new cruiser, or at least a new transmission in the cruiser, but as soon as we get them online, that's, I'm hopeful to get them passed on to DPW.
Great. Anything else from board members? Chief? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Adam, are you on the line with us?
I am, can you hear me?
Yeah, good evening.
Great, hi. Okay, so item number 1A, getting a new Ford transmission, I hear. So I'm very excited about that news. Yeah, but in regular DPW news, East Union Street, that project is largely substantially complete anyway. We've got one small section of sidewalk right at the entrance of Shore Pump Station, just beyond, heading toward the bus company, that with the retaining wall there, we had to have a stonemason come in and sort of extend the top of that wall so we could get the proper sidewalk height behind the curb.
Adam, can you hear me?
That-
Adam, can you hear me? Adam? Adam? Hello?
Adam, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Can you maybe just back away from the microphone a little? You're awful garbled.
Okay, let's try this. Any better?
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. So we've got a little bit of work left on that little short section of sidewalk at East Union Street. And then be able to get that sidewalk base paved in. The Shore Hill Road project coming along, drainage is almost complete. We've got the reclaimer, as soon as Continental can support, we'll get the reclaimer in and get that pavement chewed up so we can start the gravel and fabric process to march towards pavement over there. We did have one surprise piece of work, the third box culvert, Shirley Hill of the multi-box culverts, but the third one, which we didn't intend to have any work on as we started to survey the area, noticed that one piece of the precast concrete had fallen away and one had not been installed originally. So did some work there, some sort of short notice work last week to get a cast in place piece done. So anyway, we can march ahead with the remaining under drain that's left. Tyler Drive, the curbing is scheduled to be reset next week. I presume with the rain this week, we won't get the contractor in early for that, but as soon as that's reset, we can prep the sidewalk for paving and hopefully get the sidewalk paved and the roadway topped. We're probably going to have some, at a minimum, some landscaping to do with Tyler back in the spring. I don't think we're going to get to all that this fall. And then Warren Ave, right now, TBD, we've got some tree work that's finished. Some of the utilities have started with their valve repair, but we'll kind of hold out and see how Shirley Hill goes here before we tear into another project. Kind of as a note, I look back a couple years ago, we started the college road project in the last week of September, so we'd be a little bit behind schedule if we started Warren, but we think we could start at either at Duclos or the first little segment of Warren and just keep going as long as weather permits. So a little behind with the East Union project, but I think we're still on track to get a good chunk of that done. And then finally, through Truck 371, New Hampshire Peterbilt, as you'll see coming up later, we had some warranty work that was being done on the exhaust gas recirc system, the emissions control system. That turned into engine work, and we found a blown head gasket, and that turned into last week a engine replacement by New Hampshire Peterbilt. It was all under warranty, but kind of amazing how fast that ratcheted right up to a full engine replacement. So according to Peterbilt, the engines should be in this week, maybe the end of the week, and we'll go from there as far as timing goes. But right now we're limited to the 2 curbside trucks as this primary frontline truck is offline. That's all I have.
Thank you. Questions from the board for Adam? Nope. Anybody? No? All set? Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
The library, Kelly, do you have anything from Diane that you wanted
I
to?
do.
Public hearing.
Oh, is it
Yeah.
7?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It is 7 o'clock and it's time for a public hearing. Let's see, the notice. Do you have the notice, Daryl?
I can read it off if you like.
Please,
In compliance with RSA 4114B, the Select Board is conducting the second of 2 public hearings to accept public input on the proposed ordinance entitled Stop Sign on Wallace Road at the Mass Road Roundabout. The result of this ordinance, if enacted, would place a stop sign on Wallace Road at the Mass Road Roundabout. In accordance with RSA 4114B, the Select Board's vote shall take place no sooner than 10 days, nor later than 21 days after tonight's second public hearing is held.
thank you, Derek. So this is the second of the required 2 public hearings. We received significant input during the first public hearing. So I'm going to open up the public hearing at this point for public comment. Is there someone in the public who would like to comment relative to this public hearing for the stop sign on Wallace Road? Now would be your opportunity, if you could just state your name and your address.
For those callers on the line, if you'd like to be heard, you can press *9. I will unmute your line. If you could, again, identify yourself and your address, and you will be heard at the public hearing.
We're going to have different people or just?
Hello, caller, with the phone number ending 4050. Do you wish to be heard at tonight's public hearing?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Who's with us?
Okay, my name is Jeremy Jones. I live right on Wallace, here in the village. Can you first just confirm for me that you are able to hear me clearly?
Yes,
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I have lived in the village since before the construction of the rotary. I remember the traffic problems that we used to have before it was installed quite well. Traffic was always backed up, especially up Wallace Road during school hours, and of course during rush hour from all directions. The biggest problem that I have seen in driving through this rotary for so many years, especially in the years that I have lived here in Wallace, is just the general lack of understanding of how to operate within a rotary or roundabout. That really seems to be the biggest driver when it comes to regular four-wheel vehicles, is people just not understanding the rules. So that said, I have, a rotary is obviously intended to keep traffic moving and fluid, and it would be nice if folks would just figure that out. As far as the trucks go, which I know is the larger concern, I see big rigs, I see sleeper cabs with 52-foot trailers going through the roundabout straight on Mass Road with no problem. A good driver, my father was a truck driver for 45 years. I grew up in that world. A good driver can get through that roundabout without any issues whatsoever. The problems occur when truck drivers ignore or miss the signage that says not to turn down Wallace Road. And that goes to the next point, which is that signage that is there is too small. It's too small for a driver traveling 30 miles an hour to take all of that verbiage in, alerting them what to do when going through the rotary. If we could increase the size of that signage, I think that would be a huge help to drivers who are not familiar with the area. My suggestion as far as the rotary itself goes is I would have no problem seeing the size of the skirt shrank, made smaller to make it that much easier for the larger vehicles. But as a taxpayer in this town, I am not on board with undoing all of the expensive work that was already done to install that rotary. Rotaries work perfectly fine in countries and municipalities around the world. It's just a matter of getting the size of it, properly set up for that small area. So I will conclude this by simply saying I am not in favor of going back to having a stop sign, and I'm hopeful that we can come up with a solution that will not involve that. Thank you all for your time. I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you, and thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Anyone else, Derek, that you can see?
Yes, another caller, I will unmute you. For those waiting, if you press *9, that will raise your hand. I will unmute There you go. If you could just identify yourself for the board.
Morris Demers, 11 Tanager Road. I live at 11 Tanager Road, which is a ways from this intersection. I do travel it frequently, and I have to agree with the previous caller. It's a huge improvement of what we had before. I reviewed the study that we referred to in the town website, and nowhere does it mention the idea of putting in a stop sign. It talks about making some adjustments to the size of the circle, and those sorts of things, and even explored the idea of a traffic signal, but it does not mention a stop sign. I also would be opposed to stops, would be just going back in time, in my view. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments. Next caller?
All right. Caller, I just unmuted your line. If you could identify yourself.
My name is Brian Lombardi, 49 Tyler Drive. I am opposed. Hello?
Yep, we
Yes,
can hear
ma'am.
you, Mr. Lombardi.
Okay. I am opposed to putting in a stop sign. I think we're not looking at the past. The whole reason the roundabout was put in was exactly what the study suggested, is that in the AM and PM hours, the traffic does get bogged down, but that's due to the high, in the school time, that's due to the high school. We were waiting on Wallace Road for who knows how long, who remembers how long, when that was a stop sign previously. I think the idea of putting a stop sign into a roundabout is confusing for unfamiliar drivers, and I would echo what an earlier caller mentioned, that the signage needs improvement. I would suggest things like more chevrons around the inner circle, in addition to what the study outlines, expanding the circle, either by shrinking the center of it or the larger aprons. But once again, I'm opposed to putting in a stop sign at that intersection.
Thank you, sir. Next caller?
And caller, if you could identify yourself. This is for the phone number ending 3800. Hello, caller, can you hear us?
Good evening, a caller with a phone number ending in 3800. Are you with us? And we'll go on to the next one. Derek will,
Okay, if there are any other callers on the line that wish to be heard, if you can press *9 on your handset, we will activate you.
see any other, Derek?
Good evening, caller. If you could identify yourself.
Hi, this is Mary Jenkins at 245 Wallace Road. I'm opposed to putting a stop sign at the Wallace Road intersection with the traffic circle. That I've been involved in a lot of traffic calming initiatives in another state around business district revitalization, and worked very closely with traffic and engineering departments and read the VBH engineering study and recommendations. And I see no reason why there should be a stop sign at that intersection. I think that the entrance to the traffic circle just needs better signage from each point of entry, along with education and enforcement. A stop sign is absolutely not part of the appropriate engineering for a roundabout. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You see anybody else there?
Hello, caller, ending in 7255. If you could identify yourself, please.
So my name is Kathy Dorowitz. I live on Narrow Road. We use the roundabout almost every day, and I am opposed to putting a stop sign there. I think it defeats the issue of having the roundabout. It also would cause traffic backup. I agree with all the previous callers as far as adding more signage. And in my opinion, if people use their directional signals, I don't think it
And I completely would agree with the previous callers with regards to being a taxpayer in this town. I don't support putting any more funding into that area. Okay, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you for your comments.
Are there any other callers that wish to be heard at this public hearing? Please press star 9 now on your handset.
Did you want to say anything?
Caller ending in 3713, I've activated your line.
Good evening, caller. Ending in 3713. Are you with us?
You still got the old one.
A caller with a phone number ending in 3713, are you with us?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay, go right ahead, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes,
Hi.
we can hear you. Go right ahead.
This is Cynthia Bovier at 4 Worthley Hill Road. First, I did send an email for the last public hearing that I understand you all have, that I would like it if you would read it for the public as well. With regards to all the studies from McFarland Johnson as well as DHB, no traffic engineer hired by the town or has recommended a stop sign, so I don't know. I would like to know where the idea for a stop sign came, because it wasn't recommended by any professional traffic engineer. And the other thing is that if you put a stop sign at Wallace Road, once a car stops and then gets in the roundabout, that car has the right of way. And cars coming westbound may very well decide, well, they have the right of way. They don't. As soon as the car's in the roundabout, so as all previous callers have said, traffic coming from Mass Road in both directions needs to slow down. Making that center island smaller is not going to help those big trucks. That's making it a tighter radius. There's a roundabout that size up by White Park in Concord. Everybody goes slow. It works great. So if you could answer where this idea for a stop sign came from, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
So I'm not certain where the idea came from. It was brought up at some point in time, and we thought it would be prudent to bring it forward since somebody did suggest it. And we'll consider it after we receive all the public comment at the conclusion of this, the second required public hearing. But we do appreciate your comments, and I understand that your final line is you don't recommend it. Just to be clear. You don't support.
That is true.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I do not recommend it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we do have another caller. I'll unmute your line now. Go ahead, caller.
Good evening.
Caller ending in 7145. Your line should be unmuted if you want to go ahead and speak.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Mark DeBiz. I'm at 116 South Mass Street, and that is one house away from the roundabout. It is part of my life every single day, every hour. So I can tell you that I oppose the stop sign, especially on the Wallace Road side. I think that if there was a stop sign to go in, that would probably be the worst street to put it on. I believe the issue is coming from the South Mass Street, and it's with drivers that once you approach and you reach a certain distance from the roundabout, you can see clearly through the roundabout. You can see all the way down the street. You can even see down Wallace Road. So they see that someone's not directly in front of them, while they're just going to drive right ahead. And I witness that every day. As they're not even making the attempt to yield to even see that somebody is in the roundabout. So if I were to make any suggestions, I could say maybe moving the yield signs to the right, to the left side, because right now they're on the left. And it's kind of the opposite way of where you're looking. Other than that, I don't really have any other suggestions. But I do want to voice that I oppose the stop sign, as for everyone, other callers.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mark, I didn't catch your last name. Could you repeat it, please?
Yes, it's Debiz, D-E-B-I-S-Z.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Are there any other callers? Oh, we do have one. I will unmute you now. Caller ending in 1882.
Hi, it's Jim Dunham off of Page Hill Road. My wife was actually on the last call. She's not in favor of the stop sign. I'm on this call. I'm not in favor of the stop sign. We use it coming and going from Goffstown virtually daily. And we've lived in a lot of different places. I traveled all overseas. I'm not aware of any place I've ever seen a stop sign on a roundabout. I mean, the whole purpose is to keep the traffic flowing, so definitely not in agreement with a stop sign on a roundabout.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Do you have anybody else that you see, Derek?
This will be a last call for any callers that are on the line. If you wish to be heard, please press *9 on your handset. They'll identify that you're ready to speak. Again, if you'd like to speak at tonight's hearing, press *9.
At one point, we did have somebody with a phone number that ended in 3800 that indicated they wanted to speak, but did not get the opportunity. Is there anyone on the line with a phone number ending in 3800 that would like to speak? Now would be your opportunity.
This is an area code 314 number. I've unmuted your line if you wish to speak.
That was me, Brian Lombardi. I spoke earlier.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Didn't want to leave anybody out. Last call. Is there anybody else you see, Derek?
I do see one. I think this was a gentleman we just heard from, but I do see the hand raised again. Phone number ending in 1882.
Jim Donovan?
Yep.
Did you wish to
Yes,
speak?
Jim Dunham.
Oh, Dunham.
D-U-N-H-A-M.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm just sitting here with my wife, and we were just curious. I'm glad the other caller asked about how the topic came up in the first place, but I'm just curious, what's the process that you go through after this call?
So for a traffic ordinance, the board needs to hold 2 public hearings. And what they would do is, if they were going to vote to adopt the traffic ordinance, they would have to do that within 10 to 21 days. And they may have some discussion after tonight's public hearing on which way they may be leaning. And then if you had any questions, you could call into Town Hall and ask to speak with myself, the town administrator, and can give you an update. But they have to wait between 10 and 21 days before they can vote on the ordinance.
Okay.
And so does the queries that we made over the last couple of calls, is that put into the record as far as who's for it and who's against it?
Yes, that goes into the public minutes from tonight's meeting and public hearing, yes.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, this is the last call. Anyone else want to comment on this proposed ordinance?
Again, if there's anybody on the line that wants to speak, please press *9. This will be your last opportunity to speak at a public hearing on this proposed ordinance. We do have one that just... go ahead, caller.
Hi, sorry I joined late. My name is Karen. I am a resident of Goffstown. And
Karen, can you give us your last name and address, please, for the record?
Sharon is my last name, and it's 11 Goldfinch.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I just wanted to say I have a hard time getting through the roundabout now. I can't imagine also having to stop and waiting for both sides of traffic. I stop now, but if I have to have it clear on both sides, I'll never be able to take a left to get to town. I feel now with the yield, it's a little bit easier for me. but I would feel like it would be really difficult to take a left off of Wallace. I just wanted to voice my opinion on that.
So I want to be clear, so you're not in favor of an ordinance that would put a stop sign at Wallace Road? Just to be clear.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Just want to be clear, so you are not in favor of the proposed ordinance for the stop sign? Not in
I
favor?
thought it was off of Wallace.
Yes. What did I say? Did I misspeak?
Yes, I guess we just want to make sure that you are opposed to the stop sign on Wallace Road?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. See anything else, Derek?
No, nobody else is identified, and we don't have any new callers that have come on, so.
Okay, then. Well, everyone who wishes to be heard has had the opportunity to be heard tonight, so I'm going to close this, the second of the two required public hearings. And again, remind folks that the Select Board will have to take action no sooner than 10 days, nor later than 21 days after the close of the second public hearing, which just occurred. So that's where we are in the process. Stay tuned. We'll take this up, obviously, fairly shortly, and we'll discuss that in the next meeting, probably. Yes, next meeting would be, yeah, I think it'll be on the next agenda.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for everyone who participated this evening. It was most helpful in giving us some guidance on how to proceed with this proposed ordinance. We'll go back to the agenda.
I think we had a few more
Library.
department
Yeah, we did.
updates.
Yes, we did. We still need to hear from library.
Yep.
Kelly, do you have something?
I do. On behalf of Diane and the Board of Trustees, I have an update. The first is an announcement of sorts that will be coming out on social media and via email. The Library Board of Trustees will host a community forum on Saturday, October 17th at 1 p.m. at Stark Hall on Church Street. This is an opportunity to see the preliminary plans for an addition to the library building and ask questions about future services, planning, and facility. Our architect will be there to make a presentation, walk people through the ideas that have been brought up in the preliminary phase, working with the architect, and all community members are invited. Masks are required. Seating will be socially distant, and it will be recorded to be able to put out. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to the library director. As far as operations are concerned, the library is still doing the foyer browsing. You can call the library main phone number from the parking lot to do pickups, to reserve a computer, and they are still doing the book bundles, so if you're interested in checking out books, they can put something together for you. And staff is available Monday, Tuesday, and Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Tuesday and Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and then on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So those hours are back up to where they were before.
Thank you, Kelly. Any questions for Kelly relative to the library report? Seeing none, and then finally, the town administration.
Yes, I know Rick also
I'm
has an
sorry.
update.
I'm in a mask, you can't see.
Yeah, I can't see you. Who is that masked man? Sorry, Rick, sure, come on up. I had you written down here, but, you
That's
know.
fine. That's fine. Boy, Derek, I gotta tell you, you manage that machine beautifully. Unbelievable. You're a master. Parks and Recreation, as far as the programming right now, we got our youth instructional soccer program that's going on Monday through Thursday, an hour each afternoon. We're basically following all the 2.0 guidelines, CDC guidelines that are put forth, and so we're doing that. We have about 20, between the two, first, second grade, third, fourth grade, we've got about 25 kids. It's about our average. We're looking at the pumpkin hunt. The commissioners talked about our annual pumpkin hunt on the 17th of October, and looking through guidelines of CDC, things like that, we still will probably be able to do that, encourage mask wearing, et cetera, that kind of stuff. And what we'll do is we'll utilize our outdoor part of our building, set up a tent, et cetera, and we can have people come and pick up some bags of candy via that way. Programmatically, we're still, don't know what we'll end up doing with our basketball program. That pretty much is a big up to the use of the buildings, the school buildings. We have a Plan B in effect that we might be able to utilize if we are not able to use those buildings. Facility-wise, everything's going well. Everything's been fertilized, seeded, limed. We're now actually, I got a call the middle of last week. Our pool covers are finally ready. A little late, but they're finally ready. So we just got into Barnard today, and we're going to drain it. We got to drain it. We got to fill it. We got to run it a little bit, so that way there we can put it, winterize it, and be ready for spring, summer. So that's rolling along pretty good. I did end up bringing on a couple part-time kids, kind of last minute, to help with that cleaning process, because we need a few more hands on deck. So I actually did bring those kids on. Facility-wise, the sports complex, the hydro seed was put in on the 3rd of September. It's catching pretty good, seems to be going pretty good. Irrigation is now running pretty good, not pretty good, it's running well. The trees, the green giant evergreen trees were all planted, so those are all in place. Now we're waiting for the fence contractor to come in and start putting in all the fencing from the gates up in the front, vinyl fencing down the side, around the pond, and everything there. So that's all going really well. The other thing is the commissioners, we met last Wednesday looking to get our building back kind of open for fitness instructors, karate classes, things like that. Presented a proposal, ran it by our department heads, my colleagues, and got a lot of good ideas and suggestions. And it's basically, it's following, your stay-at-home 2.0 for fitness centers, and it's also following CDC guidelines as well. So it's taking the two guidelines, bringing them together, and also other suggestions by department heads and all that. What we're going to end up doing is we purchased an electrostatic handgun. It's the same sprayer that the school's using, same exact one for germ control. I don't know how else to say it, but for germ control. So we got a good system in place on how that's going to happen, how the cleaning will happen, and kind of go from there. So I think that's all I really have.
Thanks, Rick. Questions for Rick from any of the board members? Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Okay, now finally, I believe we have administration.
Yes, I've got probably a couple items that will generate some discussion with the board, but everybody's been healthy here at Town Hall, so we've been fortunate for that. The first item I'll talk on is I have been talking with the fire chief and the police chief about trick or treat. We were advised last week during the state's COVID conference call that the New Hampshire Municipal Association and Public Health are working together to provide guidelines. They have a webinar that they are hosting Wednesday of this week, and that they've told us that is going to have local New Hampshire focused guidance for Halloween and trick or treat. So when we talked with the fire chief and the police chief last week, our thought were to hold off any decisions until such time. I do know the governor during his press conference on Thursday did mention trick-or-treating, and the state has released a one-page trick-or-treat safety tip sheet. So we do have that, but our thoughts were to see where that is after Wednesday. We'd be happy to answer any questions or concerns the board might have.
Peter?
My understanding, New Boston and Ware have already okayed it. Is that correct?
I hadn't heard directly from New Boston. We had heard that Ware, Bedford, Manchester has also indicated they were, Manchester PD had indicated they were going to look towards Manchester Health if they were going to make any adjustments. I think Most communities we've heard from are waiting for this Wednesday conference call, because this looks like it'll be the only guidance from state public health that we will receive on it.
So my recommendation is that unless we hear something different, because we're not gonna have a lot of time, you're not gonna be able to make the announcements. I think you need to get that out as soon as possible.
Yeah, and what dates are the communities looking at? I mean, is there,
Well, it's a Saturday.
I just wanted to make sure that there's consensus.
October 31st does occur on a Saturday. I think in the past few years, the police chief can maybe confirm you've done it from 6 to 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 to 8. Again, I don't see any reason to change that. I would speak with the board here and see what your preference is for giving out candy. I would advise you as members individually to, consider not giving out candy. I think the village is a place of congestion where you do have a lot of people, and I think while we can encourage people that want to participate in trick-or-treating throughout the town, we may not want to encourage them to all come down to town hall or some of the town buildings where it's a little bit more congested and that they stay in their own neighborhoods. I don't think that needs to be decided at this moment, because again, you will have another meeting before Halloween where you can decide if you want to hand out candy.
But I think my suggestion would be, Collis, is that we go ahead and say, that's what we want to do, unless we hear something at this conference call that drastically alters our plan. But I just think in order,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at this point, we know the date and time. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty well established. So the question is, what are we gonna do as
well, I mean,
government?
just to,
Yeah.
once they get the idea, if you don't hear anything big deal about it, we want to get it
Right.
out. We don't
Yeah,
want
we
to wait
would-
for another 2 weeks.
No, we would get, at that point, if you feel comfortable, I'd have the police chief set the date and time.
Yep.
And put out any guidelines that we have and maybe have it come out of the EOC like we've done with some of the other decisions.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
make that
if we come up with a guideline, so it's a sheet of do's and don'ts, so
Yep.
some guidelines, because we can't stop people from trick or treating. They want to go out with their children, they have to assume the responsibility of doing the socially correct thing, but
So I make the motion that we set the hours as we've talked about, the 31st, and from 6 to 8, as long as the police chief is comfortable with information he gets on the conference call.
I'll second.
I've got a motion by Kelly and a second by Chet.
Motion by
Motion by
Peter.
Peter and a second by Chet. Well, we'll go with Chet.
Change your voice?
Yes, so.
Any discussion on the motion? Nothing, and I'll call a roll, yes?
Yes.
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 Okay, motion passes 5-0-0.
Another item that,
Vote.
I'm sorry?
What was your vote?
Yes.
sorry.
I didn't catch it.
Another item we've been working on here at Town Hall that will probably generate some discussion is the pole relocation from Bartlett Elementary up to Mountain View. Kathy has transmitted all that information. I am waiting on her just to do the one final look over on the initial news release that we'll put out. We need to start working to get the mailer, a postcard mailer to all the households, and we've also gotten some good suggestions from some residents about signage to maybe put down in the businesses and some pamphlets that we can put down there to start getting that word out that we have relocated.
I think it's important that we make sure that people understand that if they have been going to the high school, because you're gonna have people at Tibbetts Hill Road say, what, can I just run up there and vote?
Yeah, that's a good point, that, yeah, if you go to the high school, you still go to the high school.
Right,
Yep.
because you'll have people
Yep.
like Rick, who's gonna be driving right by there,
Pull right in.
pull right in, you know? So,
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Sure.
Derek, as far as the communication on the postcard, if we include information about absentee ballot requests, can we just make sure that the timing of it is appropriate?
Yeah,
That
we will
we're-
try and get
We're
that.
not giving people absentee information past the time frame in which they would,
Yeah.
or
Yep.
return information or something like that. I just want to make sure it's super clear on our end
Okay,
what the options are for them.
okay, yep, we can absolutely.
Certainly, the more information we can get out there, and the sooner the better, so. Okay.
And Derek, do you know, or should we decide, I think no matter what we do, as far as getting the information out to as many people as possible, I feel like we should still have somebody at Bartlett that day that can redirect people who maybe for whatever reason didn't see it.
I'd like to talk to Kathy. You know, Kathy had floated and brainstormed some ideas, especially when you have the ability to get an absentee ballot under different, if it would be available to do that. So let me talk with Kathy of either having someone there to provide okay, this is where you're supposed to go, but there might be also some alternatives that they can take advantage of.
DPW sign or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good idea, because we don't want to do anything that might run afoul of the Secretary of State's office.
Yeah, exactly.
Have we gotten official confirmation back from the Secretary of
They
State's
did make the
office?
change, they did make the change on their website, so now if you are a District 5 voter, you're in that address, when you call up your polling location, it will show up as 41 Lauren Lane in Mountain View. So it does have that, they have made that change in their system.
All right, and do you know the approximate press, like initial press release that you're gonna put out? Will that be this week?
I'm trying to get it out tomorrow. Kathy's been on vacation the end of last week and this week, so she's back tomorrow. I'm hoping we can get it out tomorrow. And,
Okay.
get that information, and then work to get the mailer out this week as well.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Other item that we've been working on with the Budget Committee is the 2021 budget scheduling. I know I sent to the chairman and Selectman LeMay today and last week, a little week, of what we are thinking we should do for a schedule. The school district is holding 2 joint meetings between the school board and the Budget Committee on October 5th and the 7th. They're doing that fully remote. My recommendation is the select board consider that as well, to consider scheduling a joint meeting from 7 to 8:30 p.m. on Monday, October 19th, the 26th, and then November 9th. And the purpose of that is you can get the same presentation from the department heads to both the select board and to the budget committee at the same time. You may get people on either boards that have the same question that only gets asked once. It'll just be, I think, a little bit more efficient this year. By October 19th, we should have our health rates, we should have all of our unknowns covered. And then that would allow the select board to deliberate, make their decisions, and send it on to the budget committee.
I would say tentatively, yes, but I would like to see how it works with the school. And if that doesn't work well with the school, we probably wouldn't want to do it.
Okay.
Does that make sense? I mean,
yeah, that makes sense. I think there are a few budget committee members that do not have the technology at home. So our IT staff and our staff here at Town Hall are going to be supporting them when they go to the school board meetings. So we're going to actually have a couple of budget committee members in this building on town laptops participating on the school board. So we're going to help them out with that. I think they should be successful, and I think if we could work to be successful for the town as
I
well.
just want to make sure that's a good test. They're starting before us, so.
But it makes a lot of sense to get greater participation that way.
Yeah.
Derek, my assumption would be that they're gonna have some sort of follow-up question procedure in addition to, would
Yes.
department heads be required at a minimum of 2 meetings for their presentations? Or is it completely joint, just one?
I think it would be joint for the initial presentation, and then we would go through probably the normal budget process where we might have certain nights where, okay, the select board has finalized their budget and sent it on to the budget committee. Tonight, they're gonna be focusing on these departments, those department heads should be there. I think it would just save the time of having them do their whole presentation over another night.
Okay.
Try and get a little bit more efficiency there. And then the last update, Danielle does have an update on the 2020 grants that came up during the action matrix, your previous meeting, so she does have a quick update on where we are with our grants.
Evening, Daniel.
Good evening, everyone. So our grants total, I'm gonna go over some of the summarized version, but we have incurred about $792,000 in COVID-related expenses, but that does include the first responder wages that were eligible, which were already appropriated. Of that $792,000, approximately $20,000 does not appear to be grant eligible at this time. So we are expecting to have the remaining $772,000 eligible, and of that we've received $175,000 already, and we have an additional $554,000 that is pending decision at this time. The majority of that pending is the Gopher grant for the $423,000. And all in all, with the COVID-related grants, as long as other federal grants that we have throughout town with other departments, we are expecting that our federal grants this year will exceed $1.1 million total. So we are expecting to have to do a single audit in the next year for the 2020 year.
Thank you. Questions for Daniel? No? Thank you for the update.
Pretty black and white there.
Yep, sure is. Let's see, road business. Let's see, we're still carrying the personnel plan changes and communication strategies, is that all still
Yeah, we'll have a
ongoing?
plan moving forward at your October 19th meeting for that.
Perfect, thank you. Grants, we just heard on that, the vehicles, it looks like, what do we got it?
You've got the
PPE car?
DPW one that Director Jacobs spoke of.
We got updates on all these, right?
Yes.
And the one the fire chief spoke about the heating problem on the one.
Yep.
And then the accident that happened, that's before, so.
Any questions on any of the vehicles from anybody? Nope. All right, wait for motion.
Public comment.
Yep, second public comment. Anybody, do you see Derek is,
If there's anybody on the telephone that would wish to make public comment, please press *9 at this time. I think you're all set.
all set? Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion, we go into non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, 2B hiring.
Thank you, Peter.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Kelly to go into non-public session. Do you need a roll call on that? I vote yes.
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 Thank you. The motion to go into non-public passes 5-0. That concludes the public portion of our meeting this evening. Thank you for everyone who watched and participated in this evening's meeting. I think it went well. It's good to be back in person. We're now going into non-public session.